The next angel I want to talk about is John McGrath. John McGrath was a client at Sinclair Place, a retirement home that I worked at from July of 2017 till February of 2018. John McGrath, when they're at the dining room table, it was a table of five men and one woman, Connie, and John McGrath sat at that table across from her. Um, just a really weird dynamic because they would sit there and not talk, and then all of a sudden, halfway through dinner, they're all chattering like they went to high school together or something. It's just really weird how that happened, time after time. One of the guys could play piano. He had really bad arthritis, so it hurt him to do it, man. But he was one of those guys prodigy that could play piano, could just play it, man. I envy that. I wish I could do that. So every once in a while he would just, we'd be getting ready for dinner, and he'd just go in there and start banging on the keys, and it was just like I loved it. And John McGrath, I did not like him at first. He was a short little 5'2". I'm 5'6", and he's, one of those, short guys, man, bantam rooster. He just, loud and just boisterous and just, funny as all get out, actually, but we got through all his BS, but, I just didn't like him, man. I don't like those type of people. I just, it turns me off. And being a caregiver there, you can't show it to him. It comes out, but, you can't show it to him. And the thing I loved about John, man, and, I learned later why, and I'll talk about that, but, it just washed off his back, man, like water off a duck, man. It didn't affect him at all. He was happy, laughing, carrying on, telling jokes, just, talking, and I didn't know what to do. So anyway, I worked there a couple months, and I get to like John. I get to like being around him. I get used to him. He's not really a short little, bantam rooster, but, just he comes off that way. And, everybody, they would bitch about, here comes John. But, like 10 minutes later, we're all having a good time and glad he's there. And it just really weird dynamic there, how that happened. John usually, he could get around and stuff and get dressed and stuff, but he needed a little help to just, it'd take him a little longer if he did it himself. So you go in there and you help him get dressed and out to dinner or wherever we're going. And I'll never forget, he died in January of 2018, and a week or two before he died, I'm going in to help him get him to dinner. He's still in his underwear in bed, he's watching whatever, and I get him dressed, man, and I like long sleeve shirts. I like long sleeve dress shirts. I always have. It's a story in and of itself. I'll probably get to one of these days. And I'm going, and he wore the same type of shirts that I would go buy. I mean, just you look at them, they're, dress shirts. They're nice shirts. They're nice looking. And I'm going, John, man, that's the same kind of shirt I buy. Those are the kind of shirts I love. And I've already got this shirt on him. I'm buttoning him, and he starts taking it off and goes, well, here, John, you can have it. And I'm going, no. Let's get you to dinner, man. It was like, give me the shirt off his back. It was no problem. Let me see. John was in World War II, and he drove those landing crafts, the beach landing crafts at Normandy. And I used to give him a hard time, man. I'd be going, John, it's a good thing that you're short, man, isn't it, man? Those bullets that were 6 inches over your head, they'd have killed you. And he's like, yeah, we'd laugh and just, sometimes it's good to be short. I just always thought that was funny. I learned it would come through that I'd get short with them, and I don't mean to. I'm not that kind of person. I try to, not let that through, but it would come through, and it didn't affect him at all, and ever. John was a die-hard University of Washington Husky fan. He loved Washington State or Washington Husky football. It was like if it was on, he's watching it. And one of my things that I did was I just took it upon myself is he had cable that you could set it up to record later. So um, I would do that. I would set up to record, and I would also go in there and I would set it so that all he had to do was turn his TV in the box on, and he's watching, it was on the channel to, if he got it in time that he's watching football. And I was getting off work one day and I was getting ready to leave. I was walking out the front door and I went, oh my God, I forgot I was going to go, set John up for watch, football. And so I go running back to his room, and his daughter is there with their husband. And I go, man, I forgot to do this. And I, set up the TV so that all I have to do is turn it on and he's watching football. And I mean, it impressed her. It impressed her no end. I mean, she was like and it's funny because nobody liked her. She was one of those people, man, that you didn't want them coming around because she complained about everything. It was just, everything was a problem. And she loved me. And things with me weren't a problem. It just, John McGrath, became my guy. I became, Laura's guy. And, it's funny how, like, even working at O'Reilly's, I become people's guy. And anyway, so John McGrath dies middle of January, and I was the only person from Sinclair Place that was requested to be at his funeral. He was Catholic, so it was at the Catholic Church here. Another story in of itself. I don't have a problem with the Catholic Church, but the Catholic Church had a problem with me, so I have a problem with the Catholic Church because of that. So, I haven't been into a Catholic church in 25, 30 years. And so I pick up two lady co-workers with me. We're going to his funeral, and we get there, the place is packed. We're standing in the doorway and they're just bringing the casket down. We were just like right behind the casket, and they took it down and put it up, and I don't think they opened it. I didn't get to see John again. And so it was interesting because, like, one of the priests goes, here, why don't you go sit over here? Because I was in my tux. I'm not my tux. I was in a suit, tie, jacket and shoes and everything. And so we were sitting in the back row. There's my two coworkers. I'm sitting between them. And there's a lady to the right of the lady, my coworker to the right of me. And we're sitting there, and John's, I think it was his sister's son, it was his nephew, gets up and talks about, he met John when he came back from World War II, and he said, John was always happy. He always had a smile, always had something nice to say, always happy. And the guy's going, I learned after a while that John loved everybody. It didn't matter. John loved everybody. And then it hit me. I'm sitting there, at this funeral between these two ladies, one of them I want to hit on, but, and I pictured John McGrath. I'm sitting there on this bench in this Catholic church, and I pictured John McGrath in heaven with Elena on his knees smiling down at me. And I started bawling. I started crying. I was about to start crying again. And, tears running down my face. I became the glazed donut monster. My tuck suit had a green, not napkin, but a handkerchief. I took it out earlier just so, this isn't for a funeral, and I don't have anything. And the lady that's sitting to the right of my coworker, man, she goes and gets me a box of Kleenex and hands it to me, man. I was like, that's an angel in and of itself. And I'm sitting there, John loved everybody. I mean, what an example to go through life, man. Just love everybody, and whatever you say doesn't affect him. If you could really do that, that would be an amazing thing. And I look forward to seeing John McGrath and Elena. I just thought that was a funny story. It was on my mind today, John McGrath. I asked his daughter, after he died, all his stuff, he had a brand new bed, and I gave it away eventually. But I mean, it wasn't even like, it didn't even look like it just gotten out of the package, And she gave me all this stuff and some clothes of John's, the red shirt that I got married in was John's. I'm really, I'm proud that I got to wear that when I got married, Madeline. you know, and I asked her, he had a picture of himself, just, you know, like one of those times when you go in to get a portrait done of yourself, you know, professionally. And it was a really nice picture. And I asked if I could have it. And I never got, you know, she never called me back. So I just, you know, okay, I'll let that one go. I wish I would have had, you know, gotten that picture of John McGrath. You know, can you change in life? I don't know, but you know, if you act like you love people, then maybe eventually you can really put it in your heart that you love people. You know, I did learn that in AA. I mean, you do stuff and you practice it till it becomes ingrained, and then you know you live it. Anyway, I'm looking forward someday, John McGrath. Be waiting for me. Anyway, God bless you all.